All right, welcome. This is Tara Alamany of Emerald Lake Books, and it's been a little while since I've done a behind the scenes video, but I wanted to share something that I've been using a lot for the last year or so that I think may benefit you. One of the biggest things we hear from authors when we're looking at potentially publishing their book is that editing is very expensive, and it can be. And I know it's one of those places that authors typically are looking to cut corners in order to be able to find more reasonable options. And one of the ways you can do that is to actually use certain tools that are going to help you to write better so that the editor's job is easier. Different levels of editing require different levels of effort. And so the more polished your book is by the time an editor gets it, the easier it is for them to manage, and therefore the lower the cost is for them to be able to do the work that they need to do in order to finalize your manuscript for you. So there are a lot of different ways to do self-editing and to use tools to help you through the process. But the one that I'm going to look at with you today is called ProWritingAid. And it's one that we've been using that we use in combination with Perfectit, which I've done an earlier video on. You can look through our YouTube channel to find the behind the scenes video for that. That's a great one for consistency and for house styles. And we definitely use that. And then this one actually is going to help you kind of tighten up your writing. There are certain things that it looks for that make sure that your writing has a little more liveliness to it. And so let me just share my screen real quick. And we're going to start here. So this is the ProWritingAid website, and it tells you a bit about it. And it positions itself as being a grammar checker, style editor, and writing mentor all in one package. And it really is. It has a Google Chrome plugin if you want to be able to use it in your browser. It also integrates with Microsoft Outlook, Word. There's the Chrome extension, Safari extension, Firefox extension, Edge extension, OpenOffice. It also integrates with Scrivener and with Google Docs. So you can use it in all these different places. And probably its number one competitor would be Grammarly, but I personally like ProWritingAid better for a few different reasons. But as we go through this, you'll see that what they're doing isn't just checking your spelling and checking your writing style. It's really helping you improve your writing, because what it does, in addition to telling you that something needs to be resolved, is it explains to you why it's important. And it helps you to learn these techniques so that as you write new pieces, your writing improves, it becomes stronger. And there are things that you become more aware of as you go along. The pricing is reasonable. You can either do a monthly subscription, which is $20 a month, which is great if you just want to give it a test drive to have the premium version, although there is a trial for it as well. There's an annual subscription that's $79 a year. Personally, we went for the lifetime subscription just simply because it includes everything, and we are committed to be doing this long term. So after a while, $79 a year adds up. And it made more sense for us to do a lifetime subscription. So that's what we did. But essentially what that's going to allow you, there's some free access in the trial, but it's going to have word count limits, and you're not going to be able to use it in all the places you might want to. So the premium version allows you then to use this in whichever platform you need to use it in. There's also this writer's resource library, which is great. And they guarantee 100% privacy. So those are all important aspects. So let me show you what it looks like. I use it in Word primarily. And so what it does is when you install it, it's going to add another ribbon bar to your Word ribbon bar. And so it's going to be the ProWritingAid. And you'll see we've got Grammarly, Perfectit, and ProWritingAid all in here. Grammarly at this point, I really don't use very often because I find that Perfectit and ProWritingAid cover everything that I want. And there's a few different things that you're going to have in here, all sorts of different granularity. So you can do something that provides a summary of your writing. And I've used a very short document here so that it won't take exceedingly long, but it basically gives you different scores. And the idea as you go along is you want to try and target certain scores. And it tells you, where you're doing really well and what things that you can improve on. And so then you can go through your grammar check, and it will show different things that it suggests need changing. Your spelling score is fine, but the writing style could use some help. So what it's looking at is all sorts of different elements. And so we often will run the real-time version so that it's actually showing us as we write some of the things that need changing. Now, some of this I copied from a form that I was filling out, and so I'm not going to change things that I didn't write. But for instance, the purple is going to tell me that these are passive verbs, and passive verbs make the writing less direct. And so it's going to recommend using an active verb instead. And I can choose whether or not to ignore or correct it. I can also indicate if something's been marked incorrectly so that ProWritingAid can reevaluate it and learn. Here's one where there's a split infinitive. And of course, there is, actively shouldn't be between the two and contribute. I can move it elsewhere if I wanted to improve my writing and actually determine, do I even need actively? A lot of times adverbs aren't needed. To contribute already implies an active position. It's rare for you to passively contribute to something. So the actively probably isn't needed. Difficult problems, you can use a stronger adjective. So that's going to make your writing more impactful if you're using stronger adjectives. And so here, hard problems, hard, I don't like as much, but you can make some choices there. The idea is, as you go through, you can go through each one of these and decide, which ones are relevant to you. It'll look at, unnecessary comma. Okay, so I can take the comma out there. Is responsible for, that's going to be, they're looking at readability. Is there a simpler way to say this to simplify the writing? Is something even needed? Sometimes we can omit phrases that we have in there because they're just filler words. And so as you go through, you'll see each of the different recommendations that are made in order to strengthen the writing. It'll even look at, your quotation marks. You've used different style of quotation marks in your document. So which do you want in making sure that, you're going to be consistent in what you're doing. So there are so many different things that this looks at when you're doing it real time, but you also can dig in and look at things. Some of the things that we really like are the all repeats and the echoes. And essentially what all repeats is going to do is look for repeated words and phrases, and see if there's any that we use too frequently. And so what we'll see then is information that'll help us decide, do we need to modify this so that we're not using the same word so often. Present on this topic gets used twice. This is a forward phrase that gets used. Growing your publishing business, hit by a bus. Do I want to modify those so that I don't have so many of them? So that's there. But then echoes looks at the starting of not necessarily the starting, it can be anywhere, but it'll look for words or phrases that are repeated in close proximity. So in other words, if I look at information and information, they're appearing, they're appearing very close to one another. So I can go through and see, all right, I've got publishing that is showing up. Let's see. I've got publishing in the header, and then I've got publishing there, so it's showing me things that are in close proximity to one another. I have a repeated phrase 5 times of project, and it's all in close proximity. So do I want to change some of those? So it's a great way of being able to look at your writing and make sure that you're not using the same words to describe the same thing every time. So if you can mix up the words, it makes your writing a little more engaging. It'll also look for things that are overused. So, it compares the frequency of commonly overused words in your text to published writing and give you an indication where you may have overused words. It will provide both a thesaurus and grammar and style. So the thesaurus recommends possible replacements for nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs that will help strengthen your writing because you're not using that same word over and over again. It'll also look for cliches and stickiness and readability. So there's just all sorts of different things that this will help you with. There's also a plagiarism checker as well. So lots of different things. Here you can also define a house style if you would like, and you can also identify, if you're writing fiction, what it is that you want to be paying particular attention to as you're going through it. When you are using the real time, you actually can indicate what style of writing you're doing, so that if there's certain things that it wants to be looking for, it can be looking for those things. So lots of different writing styles that it can check against to make sure that what you're writing is consistent with what readers of those particular things would be looking for. And so you can set that up however you'd like and change it for each document that you're working on. So there's just so many different things that you can use. It'll check things like, acronyms. If you have acronyms used, were they properly defined? And if they weren't defined, or if they were defined in reverse, say you use the acronym and then what it stood for is in parentheses afterwards, it'll let you know that, so that you can check the way you want to handle that. Because according to the Chicago Manual of Style, which for books, there's certain ways that are incorrect and correct for using it. So ProWritingAid does so many different things, but the thing that is always the most beneficial is the fact that it's not just telling you what's wrong, it's telling you how to fix it. And it's also telling you, how to fix it, but why to fix it. And so that's going to help you as you go along with being able to improve and strengthen your writing, so that as you develop your writing career, you're going to be avoiding some of the mistakes because you've learned how to write in a way that avoids these, echoes and repeats and all these different things. So I highly recommend ProWritingAid. I found it to be a great use of my time for being able to just do initial passes of manuscripts, and go ahead and tighten up the writing before I get into a deep edit myself. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. I'd be happy to go over them. And we look forward to hearing your thoughts about ProWritingAid. Take care. Bye.